Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are watching from. I hope the day is going well and the week is also going well for you. Now, Nelly and I, we are here today again for another amazing session. And the title today, we're going to be talking about a title that can sometimes be emotional, right? It can be emotional. And that title today is Managing Your Mental Health as a Single Parent. Now we know the challenges that comes with parenting, and sometimes we do pretend, sometimes we feel like or act like everything is okay, everything is fine, but meanwhile we're dying within. So today we're going to be talking about it, just sharing our perspective, and hopefully you can pick one or two things from it. For anybody who doesn't know me, my name is Peggy Barre. I am a survivor empowerment coach and the founder of Arise and Thrive Academy. And let me pass it to Nelly to introduce herself.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another session. I am Nelly Kwas and Myself, a social worker, transformational life coach, and co-director for Hand in Hand Community CIC. We are just so excited this week, most especially because it's Mental Health Awareness Week. So, welcome and let's talk about mental health.
Yes, absolutely. We are this week is all about raising awareness on our mental health. And in as much as some people do not believe, some people pretend as if it's just a name, it doesn't exist or it doesn't happen, but it does happen. So today, without further ado, we're just going to dive straight into the objectives that we're going to be talking today. And like we said before earlier on, single parenting can be one of the greatest and most challenging and also a rewarding experience. You are the parent, you have to make the decisions, you have to do the school runs, you have to cook that food, you need to clean that house, you got to manage the emotions. Everything is up on your head. Plus, you got to manage your own feeling. And sometimes it can be overwhelming. But then, how do you manage so that you don't break down or you don't burn out completely? So, today, that is what we're going to be talking about. And then, Nelly, I don't know whether you want to jump into it before we go into our pointers.
Yes, so we know as single parents, there are so many issues that we go through that we are dealing with, which range from financial constraints, being able to manage the household single-handedly, paying bills, having a job, and all whatnot. Regardless of all that we do physically, all these elements have an aspect of emotional commitment because we
Mhm,
cannot just get up and go without being emotionally committed to whatever we are doing. Sometimes, as single parents, we lay awake in bed because we are thinking bills are due the next day. We have no support. We have no other source of extra income. What do?
mhm,
We start thinking for the worst. And that, in a way, significantly affect our mental and emotional well-being. But again, we as single parents going through those challenges will want to cover that behind our backs because we don't want our children to be
mhm,
exposed to the extent that we are going through because we know it will significantly impact our children, whether
mhm,
immediately or in the long run. So we keep on hiding it. Though it is appropriate to keep those certain things away from children, it is
mhm,
also important to share age appropriate information with children so the children know. It's not that parents take their adult issues and dump it on the child because it'll be too much. The child is just trying to figure out their own things. So for today, we'll be talking of how to manage our emotions, our mental health, being a single parent with everything that you are dealing with single-handedly.
Yeah, Nelly, I don't know. It seems as if there's glitches at your end. You were talking and freezing. I don't know
Oh,
whether it is at your end or it's just the technical issues. I don't know, but hopefully that can resolve itself. So
okay.
yes, so like Nelly told, like Lenny said, we're going to be looking at. I think the first thing we're going to first of all we look at is how to first of all recognize signs of mental health. I mean, before we talk about mental health, I know some people always again some people believe that they want to see you walking on the street tattered. They want to see you looking so drained. They want to see you looking so moody, and in fact they want to see the physical signs of mental health, if I'm to put it that way, before they can know that you're going or before they can know that somebody is going through mental health. And we forget to know that somebody can be looking smart, somebody can be glowing, but yet they're struggling with their mental health. So that is something that we need to acknowledge that. And sometimes we try to cover it up, just like Nelly said, we try to bury things in, but without realizing that if we don't let it out, we're just going to sink and sink and sink. And that will not only be bad for us, it will be bad for our children as well. So today, the first thing that we're going to be talking about is first of all, how to recognize signs of mental and emotional burnout. How do we recognize signs of mental and emotional burnout? And I'll start by sharing my own story. I know from the time that, well, my relationship broke down and I had to move away with my three children, with my kids. Like I've shared before, it was like starting life from scratch. And when you're starting life from scratch, first of all, in a new environment, things are difficult. You don't know anybody. At that time, I wasn't working. And then at that time, the people that I was hoping that they will reach out to me and support me, no one was there. Only a few that I can say were there. The majority, especially those that I thought were my friends and my network, they were nowhere to be found. And so I was there in a new environment with the children, looking at them going through the challenges and asking questions that I couldn't answer. In fact, some of them I did not have answers to. And then going through that emotions of first of all feeling guilt because I felt like maybe it was my fault. I felt like you know what just you start questioning yourself. And for me, I was going through a lot. And I think I've shared before that for a very, very long time, Nelly, I was just crying. I'll get up in the morning. I will just barely do what I can do for my children. I get them, take them to school, drop them. But then when I come back home, I will just lock myself in and cry. I will just cry and cry and cry. Well, I did not know that that was me struggling with my mental health. I thought it was just me going through the motion, like, just feeling sorry for myself and heaping all the blames on myself and just questioning myself and all of that. But it got to a point where it started affecting me that I wasn't eating. I was so cranky. I went so pale, you know. I will not eat. When I cook, I will not eat. For me, I felt like starving myself was more like maybe consoling myself or maybe punishing myself for what I don't know. So these are some of the things that it went on and on and on and on. And as I saw it started affecting my kids because my kids now started to say, you know what, no, mom, it's not your fault. My eldest son started taking the blame. And for him taking the blame was maybe to relieve me from that pain. But then it started affecting his own mental health. So that is the moment where I said, you know what? I need to do something. Enough was enough, if not for me, but for the sake of my children. And like I write in my book, that is the first moment where I say, you know what? I've had enough. I need to seek help. I need somebody to help me to go through this emotion, help me to identify what is really happening with me and how I can resolve it so that I will not let it, affect my children in a very bad way. So that is, in a nutshell, that is just first of all, how I recognized that I was struggling with my mental health. And then, of course, from there, the next step, that journey began. Because for me, it was first of all recognize. If I did not recognize it, I would have just been dying in silence and then pretending as if everything was okay. But me recognizing it was a first step to seek support. So yeah, Nelly, I don't know whether.
Yeah, from your experience, I can relate to that because I had a similar experience to that. But looking at my background, I worked in mental health. I was a support worker in mental health settings for nearly a decade. So I
Mhm,
was aware of the signs because I used to do lots and lots of trainings.
mhm,
But then, how did I get to burnout in lockdown? I could recognize that I was stressed,
mm,
but due to fear, I knew the actions I wanted to take or I could take, but due
mhm,
to fear, I kept pushing myself. And those were down to the beliefs that I had developed because
mhm,
I felt that if I spoke about my struggles to my manager, because there was a time
mhm,
I spoke to my manager and she completely got it wrong, which made me to say, you know what, I will not talk about any of my struggles to my manager because I felt that she had to provide a safe space for me. But rather,
mm,
I felt that I was mocked. So I was like, no, I wouldn't. So I knew that I was really struggling. I was really stressed because I was not able to eat, similar to you.
mhm,
There was no joy in me. And like people who know me, laughter is something that comes from me easily. But there was a
yeah.
point where I really struggled, and my children would not see me cry, but my pillow knew. If my pillow could talk, my pillow was the only thing that consoled me because at night I would
Mhm,
go sleep on a dry pillow, but by morning the pillow will be wet. And because of the beliefs that I had developed, okay, I believed that if I stopped working, I wouldn't have any income. And if I didn't have any income, I wouldn't be able to provide food for my children. I wouldn't be able to pay my bills. I wouldn't be able to do a lot of things financially. And the fear
mhm,
behind that was I had already experienced homelessness. So what am I going to do single-handedly with my children if I become homeless?
mhm,
So because of all those thoughts, all the beliefs, and again, the main belief is that I had to work for myself, be independent, and things like that. So all of that got to me. And it got to those are some of the things that contributed to me getting to burnout. It's not like I didn't recognize the signs. And I actually acknowledged that those were the fears holding me back when I started the transformational life coaching, where I had to start thinking of my belief systems, the ones that are not serving me, the ones that I need to change. Then
mhm.
I realized that it was because of the fears. Something is echoing.
Yeah, something is echoing. I don't know. I think you're glitching. You are. It's kind of echoing. I don't know whether is it at your end. Is it at your end or
I don't know. I don't have anything that will be echoing.
I can hear it's echoing. Right. So if you're listening, please could you just put on the comment if you can just comment if you can hear us, please. If you're watching, can you just put a comment just to be sure that you're hearing so that if there's any technical issues maybe at our end we can resolve it. Can you hear us? Can you hear me? Can you hear Nelly? Okay. Nelly, while we're waiting for them to confirm, because I can see a few people watching. Let's see if they can confirm if they're hearing us.
Okay.
Yeah, you can proceed, Nelly.
Okay, yeah. So I was saying that it was because of the fears that I had developed, and I thought the worst could happen if I stopped
Mm-hmm.
working. So then I continued, but then it was having a significant impact on my mental health because I would be talking like we're talking now, and I'll just stop mid-sentence, not intentionally, because I could not even remember what I was talking about and where that conversation was going to. And
Mm-hmm.
the worst thing is, because it was lockdown, I was mostly at home. My children recognized that. And each time I was working, they'll come to me, Mommy, are you okay? I'm like, yeah, 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 I'm fine, I'm fine. But the number of times that they kept asking if I was okay, I started thinking, what is going on? I said, I'm fine. Sometimes they'll come and say, Mom, have you eaten? They'll bring me cups of tea, they'll bring me food, and sometimes they'll come back a few minutes later and the food is still there.
Mm-hmm.
Then, even at work, it affected my performance at work because my assessment, my manager used to describe that, Nelly, you do a thorough assessment. But it came to a point where she was sending back my assessment because my assessments were not up to standard. And then I went to the doctors and they made a diagnosis for insomnia because I was not sleeping. And they gave me medication. And it was there I said, you know what? I don't want to depend on medication to sleep.
Mm-hmm.
And that was when I said, no, I have to do something. And that was how I started coming out of the burnout. So, yes, it is real. And you said something. Many people still have the belief that mental health difficulties is just a makeup, that people just make it up. But because we can't see what's going on in someone's head,
Mm-hmm.
people do not understand. And something again that you said, that when you see people, you think that you start judging that, but this person do they have mental health problems? Because someone talked to me about it, that, Nelly, why are you not working? You're here just saying that you are not well. There's nothing wrong with you and things like that. I'm like, yeah, you don't know because you can't see. It's inside my head. So it
Yeah.
is still, people still talk about it now. And sad enough, even some people who work in the mental health sector, they still don't believe that mental health is real or mental health problem is real.
Yeah. That is so true. I just hope I can still feel there is something. Maybe it's echoing or there's a glitchy somewhere. I don't know. I'm trying to figure it. I don't know.
Have you
I
checked your
wish
set? Have you checked your settings that way? Because I've looked. I don't have anything here.
when I speak. It can you hear me? Can you hear it echoing when I speak?
No.
Okay, when you speak, I can hear it echo.
Do
So
you do you have any Facebook connection on? Because sometimes if we are speaking and you have a Facebook page on, it will be reflecting, and that's where the echoing will be coming from.
no, I don't think so. It's not on. Okay, that's fine. Don't worry. Um, so what we're gonna do, again, one thing when you were talking, Nelly, there was one thing that I picked up, and I feel that this is one of the reason why many parents are suffering in silence because they feel that if they raise out, no, if they go to seek support. I think we talked about this thing last week when we talked about some parents are scared that they don't want to either go to their GP or they don't want to go, where they can get that appropriate support. They don't want they don't want to express the fact that they are struggling mentally because that will show that may reveal their incapability to take care of their children. But I know some of them do believe that, which is not the case. But so many parents, the reason why they are not seeking support is because that is going to be used against them. That is going to be used against them, especially if the other partner finds out. I'll take, for example, there were times where, and I've seen this so many times, that one of the victims, like if you are a victim of domestic abuse, you see the case where the perpetrator is actually building a narrative of mental health around it, right? They're gradually building a case that you have got mental health. There was a good example, I think a few weeks ago, when I was talking to a lady, and she was saying that the partner actually was the one that told her to go to the GP and tell the GP that she was going through anxiety. And when that partner was a perpetrator, right? And the perpetrator kind of made her believe that he really wanted to see her get well. Like, he really wanted this lady to get some medication or to get some support for her anxiety. Now, this lady actually approached, went and saw the GP, and the GP prescribed some antidepressant. And this lady was taking the antidepressant. But do you know that the perpetrator used that against the lady and said that the lady had mental health issues, she had anxiety, and that anxiety is affecting her ability as a parent to parent the children. And as it stands, that perpetrator is fighting for custody of that child, of the child, the only child that they've got. I know sometimes, again, this is not true. This is not, well, like I was saying to the lady was actually saying that the perpetrator is the one that has made her anxiety go, to the roof. She used to be a very confident girl. She used to work. She knows what she wants. But this perpetrator, because of the emotional abuse, because of the controlling and all of that, this girl is so scared of her life, and she gets so anxious, and now that is being used against her. So this is one of the things, Nelly, I think we talked about it last week, that this is one of the things that is actually stopping some people from expressing or seeking support with the mental challenges that they're going through.
Yeah, yeah. You know what you've shared about that lady, I really understand that lady, because growing up, I didn't know about domestic abuse. I never experienced it. I never witnessed it. But then what I went through was emotional, and similar to that lady, I was told the things that were going on were because of me, that there was something wrong with me and things like that. I know when you hear something over and over, you then internalize it and believe it. And that was how I believed what I had heard repeatedly. And
Yeah.
it got to the extent, yes, I am an introvert, but I became more introverted, not because I liked it, but because of the fear, because I didn't know if I spoke, I would get in trouble. If I don't speak, I'll get in trouble. So whatever I did, I got in trouble. And then it really affected me, because even my confidence, it wasn't there. I was an introvert, but I was confident when I was out there. But it really knocked me down, and I just blame myself for everything. So as much as people think that, abuse doesn't affect one emotionally and mentally, it is not true. It is massive. It is massive, because it knocks down your confidence a lot, a lot. And because it gets to an extent where you don't even know who you are. And that's why I always say that I describe the way I was, that I did not know the woman that I was carrying along, because the version of the woman that I had at or I knew at the time was very different from the original woman that I know, that I knew.
Mhm.
And good thing, I have found the woman that I know who is now me speaking. So it
Yeah,
really affects mentally and emotionally.
yeah, true. And again, this is the sort of thing I think we're going to talk. Let's talk about again. We talked about acknowledgement. That the first thing first is first of all to acknowledge that you're struggling, and it's about identifying what is it that you're struggling with. Some people are because again, it comes. Single parenting comes with things like loneliness, decision fatigue, financial stress, like we talked about, guilt, which is the massive one, and then the fear of getting it wrong. Some parents, especially if the other partner have kind of made you believe that you are nothing without them, you're a useless person, you cannot progress to anything. In fact, they've reduced you to nothing. When you are with those children, you in your head, you're telling yourself, you know what, that is not who I am, and I'm going to prove to this person that that is not who I am. That in itself is a burden that you're carrying on your shoulder, because and then you're putting yourself under pressure because you want to prove a point. You want to make them believe that you want to correct their belief about you. So these are some of the pressure that you carry as a single parent. And you also get that feeling like everything is depending on you, right? Everything depends on you. If your children have to eat food, you have to provide for it. Bills, you need to make the decision how to pay that bill and all of that. So again, the pressure can be so much. And this is where acknowledging that pressure is important, because sometimes we go like we are super mommy or super daddy. We kind of, but hey, even if we hide those things, they are eating us up bit by bit. And if we don't acknowledge it like I did, it can go down the other end, and we don't want it. So the first thing that I talked about is first of all, acknowledge the emotional weight that you're carrying, which is number one. And that is the most important thing. And then we talked about stop trying to be a superhuman. That is another step. And for me, I said, if I did not get the support that I wanted from the people that I was relying on, I got a mentor. And in fact, I did not willfully go out there to get a mentor, because what did I even know about mentor, Nelly? At that time, I didn't even know what mentor is all about. It's all about, you know. And there was this event that I gathered the courage after I had managed to call for help. I was working with domestic abuse services at the time, and I was going through some of their trainings, their workshops that they were delivering for women. And bit by bit, I was regaining my confidence, regaining myself, finding my voice, networking with like-minded people. And then I attended one event, and the lady who was speaking, that is how we connected. And then when I shared my story, ever since, she became my mentor. Up to today, she's still mentoring me. And then that is how I had to share everything with this mentor, because I knew that she would not be judgmental, she will not judge me, she will give me the support that I need. So again, the first thing she told me was that, you know what, I've got to put down all the barriers that I've put up. I've got to let it down, and let it down, not because anybody is going to come into my circle. Nobody is going to come into my space and hurt me, but I'm letting that barrier down to relieve the pressure that I'm carrying. Even if I make mistake, it's okay. Nobody's going to judge me. And from there, that is when I started realizing that I don't need to be this super mom, this super mommy, or this super person, this human that I feel that I am. I am just me. I'm just human. And if I make mistake, it's okay. I just need to learn from the mistake and move on. So yeah. So yeah, we're still on the how to recognize,
Yeah.
and yeah.
Sometimes the problem is not recognizing, because I've been there. I've
Mhm.
recognized it, but sometimes, you know, when we bring in our culture here, which has
Mm-hmm.
a massive part to play in this,
Yeah.
you recognize that you are stressed. You
Yeah.
approach a family member that you feel that, that you respect, that can support you. But
Mm-hmm.
then, because of the cultural beliefs, the taboo, they tell you that you just need to be there. You are making things up. Imagine
Mm.
when you know, because I had that experience where
Mm-hmm.
I approached a couple of people and one of them said they will support the person regardless of whatever. And I was
Mm-hmm.
like, oh, actually. And then I approached a second one, someone that I highly respect. And you know what? Those two experiences, I felt really rejected. So
Yeah.
it's not like I did not recognize that I was really stressed,
Mm-hmm.
but it's the environment.
Yeah.
Because you look at it, in our culture, marriage is for families, nothing to do
Mm.
with the couple. But
Yeah.
then the couple live together, and that support is not actually there. And
Mm-hmm.
to me, I like culture, I like tradition, but
Yeah.
there are certain things that needs amending
Mm-hmm.
because we have just shared how we and other people that we know are struggling mentally and emotionally, and the
Mm-hmm.
impact that has on their parenting, and worse of being a single parent.
Mm-hmm.
But then the culture is promoting when single parents are being treated the way they are treated, which is not right.
Yeah.
So to me, there are certain things in culture that needs amending. It's not to erase culture because if there, I don't want the culture to be erased because that's part of my identity, but it is to be amended so that people live as human beings, not just as things to be controlled.
And that is so true, Nelly. And by actually amending culture is by speaking up, just like you and I are doing now, because many people are not aware. It actually shocks me that with our today's internet world, where you can just go on Google and then you learn everything that you can learn, people are still not willing to go out there and learn this thing, that this thing does happen. And if we don't know that it happens, Nelly, how am I going to support that fellow woman? Or how am I going to support that fellow sister or that fellow neighbor that is struggling if me, myself, do not believe that they're struggling with mental health or they're going through challenges? So, by acknowledging, we are alert that if I see somebody going through something, I can spot straight away that this person has got a challenge and I can step in and support that person. And you must not support that person by, openly or just little things. Like, you see how your children, they did not come to say, oh, mommy is struggling with her mental health. No, they didn't. But they ask you, mommy, have you eaten? Mommy, do you want something to eat? These are some little things that we can, if we know that, so if we see somebody that they're struggling with something, those same things, we can actually use those same method to make sure that we support the people around us. Another thing that just wanted to talk about is, again, like you say, it's not about recognizing. It's when you recognize it, what do you do with it? When you recognize it, what do you do with it? So, do you sit and don't do anything? That is so important. It's about taking action. And the reason why some people, again, are scared to take that action is because maybe they don't have the means. Maybe they don't actually, like we said, they don't want other people to know. But if you look, depending on the community where you are, or depending on where you are, there are support network everywhere that you can actually step out. First of all, taking that bold step that I want this support, if not for me, for the sake of my children. Because you know what? If you keep going through that stress and going through whatever you're going through, it will be affecting your children, and we don't want that. We don't want that. So I think if we go to we if we talk about we can talk on the second bit, which is about healthy ways to manage stress, guilt, and overwhelm.
Yeah, we know
Nelly,
we
can you get
have.
me?
Yeah, there are many different tactics that we can use. So for the emotion, to manage your emotions, there are things like journaling, which Peggy is so much into that. Be writing. Be
Nelly, you're breaking. You're breaking, Nelly.
Oh, can you hear me? I don't know what's going
Yes,
on.
it's better now.
Okay, so for how to manage emotionally,
It's
you do
still
your.
lagging. It's still lagging. Okay, let's why Nelly is sorting out. I think she's lagging at her end.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, it's better now, Nelly.
Okay. So we can, for the emotional part of it, you can do journaling. Write down. There are so many different things that you can adapt. Like you
Mhm,
have the mood diary, you have your activity journals, you have like what you do for the day. And the reason is because when you do this over time and you
mhm,
review it, you will notice a pattern. For instance, if you wake up in the morning and you always feel very tired, and when you do your journaling, you recognize that probably at night you don't have enough sleep. And what caused you not to have enough sleep is because you have so many different thoughts. Probably that is because you have bills that are upcoming in a few days that is affecting your sleep. When you do that
mhm,
journaling and you review it, you will recognize that pattern. Like Peggy said, recognition is the first thing. When you
mhm.
recognize that pattern, then you start putting actions in place.
Yeah.
We have heard a lot about mindfulness. It's just what you can do to calm down yourself. People use different activities, such as going for a walk, go for a run, go to the gym, listen to music, and things like that. Those are healthy ways to calm yourself down. Some people drink alcohol and drink excessively. That's a poor
Mhm,
coping strategy because it has its own negative effects.
mhm.
So try different ones. What works for you? If you try any and it works for you, you realize that you are much calmer, do it again until the point where it is not working. You can ask for seek support from professionals. And when seeking for professionals, it doesn't mean that you just go and whatever a professional tells you, you agree with it.
Mhm,
You need to be proactive because whatever the professional provides for you as support, they are not the one to deal with your challenges. You will
mhm.
be the one to deal with them. So it's for you to take that advantage that that professional is there, but you need to do the inner work yourself.
Yeah.
And it is important that when you recognize the emotion, give it a name. Give that emotion a name. But
Mhm,
unfortunately, most people in the Afro-Caribbean community, they don't even know the emotions. They don't even know the how to express themselves. So how to express the emotion. They don't have the
mhm,
vocabulary for the emotion. Then it's for us to learn those vocabularies because, for instance, if say you want to get into a room and you see people, but then you start feeling that cramp under your stomach. It's not that your stomach is aching.
mhm, mhm,
It could be an indication of anxiety. Probably you've spotted someone in there who had done something to you, but then you don't have that expression of why that is going on. So it's for us to learn the different ways how to identify and name and understand what those emotions are. So I don't know,
Mhm.
Peggy, if you have something on the emotions before we go to others.
Yes. Yes. So the one thing that I also wanted to you mentioned something about if you have to take responsibility for your well you are the one you may see a therapist or you may see somebody to support you, but it is your responsibility to engage and heal. Because it caught me because there's one thing that I've always seen many people who ladies who go through the process and they say, you know what, I don't think I'm going to get over this. I don't think this thing is, I'm going to be confident. I don't think I'm going to. If you say that you cannot, that means you're blocking yourself for your healing. You're actually blocking your own healing. So for me, one thing is about accepting that responsibility. And I always say one thing that really, really stood out for me in my own journey was for me to accept full responsibility for my journey, responsibility for my healing, right? I accepted responsibility for my happiness. And just like Nelly said, when you identify those emotions and you say, if this emotion is, for example, is what I'm struggling with, then it is my responsibility to make sure that I overcome that. So we need to bring that responsibility on us, not in a bad way, but let it be as a motivator. Let it be as a motivating factor that you know what, I need to heal. And so I need to take all the necessary steps that I can take to make sure that I am healed or that I get the support that I need. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Now just going to the practical aspects.
Mm-hmm.
We need to come up with daily routines and
Yeah.
maintain those routines because routines give us structure. And when they are
Yeah.
predictable, it reduces the stress.
Mm-hmm.
Because sometimes when we don't actually have a routine, you wake up and you just feel that there's too much to do. But
Yeah.
the routine, when you have a routine, it makes a massive difference because you know that, for instance, you get out of bed, you have a shower or a bath, you do whatever you are doing. So already that is predictable because you will do it. That will already reduce anxiety and stress on what you do in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
Have a plan. For instance, meal planning. Plan whatever you are having for the week, for the day, and so on. Because sometimes when it comes to aspect of food or feeding, sometimes it's
Mm-hmm.
a big struggle because do you cook every day? Do you cook 3 times a day, breakfast, lunch, supper? All of that is time consuming and is also emotionally consuming because when you are cooking, you don't just take the food and throw it there. You are really involved in the cooking.
Yeah.
And it gets worse when you don't have the food
Yeah.
because when there's no food, the hunger is too much. But when there's food, the hunger is just like a bay. So when you plan your meals, it is a big relief. And I realized that when I was, I came up with a meal plan, and I could still do everything that I was doing, but I felt that, oh, it was not taking up a lot of my time. And it just went
Mm-hmm.
down to planning because when I went shopping for the week, I buy for the whole week because I'd already planned. But prior
Mm-hmm.
to that, I would just go and buy the things that I could buy. But then I might come back and the next day something is finished. And I don't do shopping within the week. So
Mm-hmm.
that is something that is really helping me because I know what I am doing.
Mm-hmm.
Another thing is take short breaks without guilt.
Yeah.
Whatever you are doing, take short breaks because that will help you distract you from what you are doing. So then when you return to what you were doing, you will be more focused. And when you are taking the breaks, it shouldn't be with guilt. And I do that a lot of the times because when I mean, I like gardening. Anyone who knows me know that I like gardening. So when I work, I like to take like 5 minutes, just go to the garden. I might just pick a weed that is in the garden, but though sometimes I might plan 5 minutes. But then when I return, I realize that, oh, I've been there for 10 minutes or 30 minutes. So
Yeah.
I'm always in the watch out. But then what it does to me mentally is really good because I come back and I can concentrate more. And
Hmm.
when you are doing something, it's not the hours that you spend on that thing, because you might spend hours and
Yeah.
the productivity will not be good, but it's the
Hmm.
how much you
Yeah.
do, the concentration that you can really concentrate and focus on doing the task that you have in front of you. And then another point is you can delegate age appropriate task to your
Mm.
children, because that will relieve you as well, rather than you doing everything. But
Hmm.
then it needs to be age appropriate. For instance, we have talked about this. Depending on the age of the child and their abilities, when they finish, let them take the plates. When they finish eating, take the plates to the sink. If there are
Hmm.
others who can wash the plates, they do that. They make up their beds when they get up and things like that. So is to delegate those tasks so that the pressure on you is reduced, and so will be the stress that will also reduce.
Absolutely. And again, prioritizing without guilt can also be you making sure you go to bed early. And I'm talking to myself. Make sure you go to bed early. By making sure you go to bed early. And also, it can be by saying no to extra obligation. Because I know sometimes we don't like to hurt people. We don't like to decline people's, demands. If they want us to do things, we don't. We just want to take it. We don't want to hurt people. So, by you prioritizing yourself without guilt is by saying no, I'm busy, or no, I might not be able to help you this time, and say so without guilt. And we talk about prioritizing yourself without guilt is also unplugging from social media. Mind, whether we like it or not, I know there's sometimes where you feel like, oh, let me just go on social media and scroll and scroll. It relieves me. It relieves me. Yes, sometimes. But if it is a continual thing that you're doing and you're addictive to it, statistics shows that it actually affects us mentally. It actually affects us mentally. So we need to be mindful. And just like Nelly said again, try and take a short walk. You'll be amazed what walking can do to your mental health. Sometimes it might be tempting to just sit there and be ruminating over that thing that is bothering you, just be thinking about it. But if you leave that thing, just go on a short walk. Maybe as you're walking, you're listening to a podcast, or you're listening to something that you're learning from it. Not about gossip. Don't go on social media and listening about somebody screaming down your throat and all of that. No. Listen to maybe an educative message and all of that. You see how that will actually improve your mood in the first place, and you're also going to learn from it, as well as that walking is going to help you with also your own physical health as well. And then I don't know, I've got a point which is another physical one, which talk about build a support system. I don't know if you got that on your list,
Yeah,
Nelly. So
yeah.
that is another aspect, to build a support system. And when you talk about support system here, Nelly and I have mentioned it before. It's not just any Tom, Dick, and Harry that is going to be your support system. I mean, people who are really going to support you without judging you. Somebody that if you ring them and say, "Hey, I'm going through this," they're just going to say, "You know what? Just come lean on my shoulder." They're not going to question you why, when, and what. No, they're just going to support you. And if you look in among your circle, your inner circle, your friend, your family, if you cannot find anybody who you feel can play that role as that your support system, then that is where you can look outward. But then look, you can find maybe somebody who is a professional, right? That can help. And I know when it comes to this, many people say, "Oh no, I don't have the money to pay professional." But no, there are some, depending on the country where you are or where you are, there are some free charities that will support that. I've got support workers or have got people there that can support you, you know. So it is very important that you build that support network, and where it might be from your church, it might be from your community, maybe your own inner community, but like I say, it should be somebody that you can lean on, somebody that is not going to come and take your story and go and tell it out there, somebody who can, who believe, who understand what confidentiality means, you know. They can be your support system. I don't know, Nelly, maybe you have something to add on that as well.
Yeah, I think self-care, I mean, it's not really, it's another point. You know,
Mm-hmm,
self-care and boundary, those are things that people feel guilty, like Peggy had said. But
mm-hmm,
you don't need to feel guilty, especially if you think of it that you want to preserve your dignity, your health, rather than pleasing everyone, because it will take a
mm-hmm.
toll on you. So when
Yeah.
you are putting boundary, it doesn't have to be with guilt. Put the guilt aside, because you are doing it as part of your self-care, and it
Mm-hmm.
is very important.
Yeah.
When you approach people, I've already talked about it, when you approach a professional, for example, for help, don't just accept the help, because
Mm.
they are telling you from their experience. But remember, you are the expert in your lived experience.
Yeah.
Whatever the problem you are going through, you are the one who has the problem, the solution to that problem. But unfortunately, a lot of people go out there seeking validation because they fear rejection. It's not like they don't know. They already know the solution, but they want to go and ask A, oh, can I do this? They go and ask B, oh, can I do this? A will either say no and then give their own suggestion. B will say no, do this instead. And then you go to like five people, they give you that different opinions. You come back
Mhm.
and you are confused. You say,
Yeah.
A has said this, that has said that. And then finally, you are more confused than the time you went to seek for help. So you've got to be careful. So sometimes,
And yeah. No, Nelly, I just wanted to add on that. I just wanted to add follow up on that because to be honest with you, that was one of the most difficult issue that I was, you know, when I came out, is the fact that the people who were calling me, the few people who were calling me, they will call me and want me to start explaining what happened, right? What happened in that relation? What happened? And then because my ex was explaining or telling whatever thing the other person was saying, whatever thing he was saying, when these other people, when he goes and say that, and then they call me, they want me to start giving my own explanation. That thing used to drain me, Nelly. And that is one of the things that was affecting me so badly, was affecting my mental health so badly, because I kept explaining. So when I got to a point where I said, you know what, from this moment, that moment when I started speaking with my mentor, I said, you know what, I've had enough. I'm not going to explain anything to anybody. People can believe what they want to believe. I'm not going to want to prove a point or explain myself to anybody. Anybody who goes out there and hear anything, take it for that. If you come and say, you know what, I don't have anything to, do you know that was one of the best decisions that I ever made. I felt so
yeah.
relieved. I felt so relieved. I felt so at peace. And I said, there was one thing that I always just said in my head when that thought wants to come into my head. I said, but what? I just say, you know what? Whatever. Let them think whatever they want to think. Let them say whatever they want to say. Let them do whatever. That word, whatever, was a lifesaver for me. You know.
You
So
know,
yeah, I just thought, yeah.
no, that's a massive one, because that was something that really, really helped me. Yes, I know as an advantage, I am an empath, but
Mhm.
I am an introvert. But n- gossip is something that I don't get involved in.
Yeah.
So, like people who were coming, I mean, there were people who were coming to me to ask, but I was like, it doesn't concern you.
Yeah.
And I know I have put so many people off, but on the other side, I have preserved my peace, because people can believe whatever they hear. I know there are many stories about me out there that I've not heard, and I don't have the time to waste. Whatever
Mhm.
you know about me, keep it to yourself. If it will help you have a peace of mind, or if it will help you to start a piece of gossip, that's up
Yeah.
to you. But it has nothing to do with me, because it's your perception. And
Mhm.
I got that from, there's this book, The Quiet Impact,
Mm.
that around that time, that's what I was reading. And
Mm.
it really, really, I mean, I took so much out of it. And there was another one, Quiet.
Mm.
And you just block people, especially those who are just coming there
Yeah.
to drain you mentally, energetically. Just
Yeah.
put them away.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. And another point that I've got here is manage negative self-talk. Because sometimes, again, it's not about the people out there, it's about what is coming from within us. That
Yeah.
voice that is hanging there telling you you're not good enough, you're not doing enough, you should have done this way, you should have done that. You just that negative self-talk. And the negative self-talk can sometimes come in the form of pressure. And you make it seem like, again, my child deserves better, I am failing, I am not doing enough. Those are some of the self-talk, and when you have those self-talk, it puts you under intense pressure. That is why you see sometimes when some single parent go on Facebook and you see somebody posting they've gone on holiday, they're having this with their children, that self-talk will creep in. You start feeling like, oh no, God, I'm not doing enough. I should have done better, and all of that. Just get rid that self-talk. You know what? I always say, when you have that chimp that is chattering in your head, you need to find your own arsenal to debunk that negative self-talk. And like I always say, you can use positive word, like for example, rather than say I'm not doing enough, you can say I am doing my best. I am doing my best. I love, my kids. I'm doing my best. I am improving. I am growing. So those are some of the things that you can do to challenge those negative self-talk that is just going to drain you down and affect your mental health more.
Yeah. And for you to realize that, I mean, to start thinking, where is that coming from? Because mostly it's coming from a place of scarcity, place of lack,
Mm,
where you start feeling that, oh, they are doing this. But then just be contented with what you have. Be contented with your situation. And instead, look at what you can do to make yourself better. Don't be thinking
yeah,
of comparing with another person, because that's where you are inviting stress on yourself that is
yeah,
not called for.
absolutely. And that just brings again to the point where I say release comparison. Comparison is a deadly killer. Release comparison.
Yeah.
I always say Facebook, they say that there was a quote that somebody made the quote. They say social media is a dumping ground for something, something. It was so compelling. I'll look for that quote. It's a dumping ground for social something, something. That is where everybody come and dump their stuff on it, and somebody may be going through a lot, and then they just come on Facebook or on social media, or let me just put this, and you might be looking and thinking that, oh, that person is doing so well, oh, that person is that, and then you may be start feeling guilty or feeling bad about yourself. No, you don't know the reality. You don't know. They've just come
Yeah.
there to dump something that they're going through.
Yes.
So again, I always say, look at social media with a pinch of salt. Guard your mental health, because if you rely on it, if you feel that that is what is actually helping you, then I'm sure there is something wrong, because the more if you go on social media, maybe you're following somebody who is educating you, that is different, right? But going on there and don't just looking at random things, especially listening to some things that are not helping you, it affects you the more. So yeah, God,
Just
yeah.
talking about social media, Peggy, there was a time I joined a well-being, a mental well-being group on social
Mhm.
on Facebook. And I went there. I think it was I don't know. I can't remember because I'd left the group. But anyway,
Mm-hmm.
my intention on joining that group was to help have conversations with people. But as I entered that group, I think it was just like the first day, one person started, today I'm depressed, and then all the next conversations that came in at the back of this first person. This was saying how their anxiety is through the roof, and about 10 of them, and it was so negative. Me being new to the group and with my pure intention to help
Mm-hmm.
people, I was like
Mm.
trying to answer and just giving them like strategies how they can manage, and it kept coming. And then it got to a point I was like, I realized that it was draining me only that first day.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, I didn't know that's how the group was. And then I contacted the admin of the group,
Mm-hmm.
and I said, because all what was going on, she didn't even reply. And I was like, oh, because they put it there that it's a support group. So I was
Yeah.
thinking, how is this support group when people are just coming and complaining, and no one is even coming up with suggestions? I came up with suggestions. And so when I spoke with this admin, I said, I like to support people, to help people. Let's have this conversation. And the
Mm-hmm.
conditions that she gave me, I was like, I was doing this willingly and freely, and now you want to give me conditions, telling me that I will be giving me times that I have to. And I
Really?
was like, no, thank you. I was just doing it because I like to help people, not that I
Yeah.
was taking it as an obligation. And I just left the group. So the reason I'm bringing this is when you go on social media, some people find that as a dumping ground, like you rightly said. Some
Mm-hmm.
people, they are going through a lot, and their way of expressing how they are going through is just anonymously. Because
Yeah.
some people have Facebook accounts or social media accounts that are not even them, but they use such avenues to express themselves. Some, because they share their experiences that way, they get the relief. But some people who use social media foolishly, they go there and they take a lot of the negativity from other people, because then they
Yeah.
start comparing that this person is doing this, when all of that, especially with now with AI is doing all sorts of things. People,
Yeah.
some people who don't know, they will see it and start thinking that, oh, this person is living a very luxurious life. Me, I'm here just no. So you see that that all comes from a place of scarcity and comparison, because do your own thing. Be contented with the little you have, even if it's your bread that you have for the day. Be contented with it.
Yeah, absolutely. And we've talked about, I think that text will talk about healthy ways to manage stress, guilt, and no, we've talked about building emotional resilience while raising children with purpose. So I think we've been some of the points have actually we've
Yeah.
actually interchanged some of the points in. But I always say on that point is that the first thing first, the key is purpose. How can you actually raise children with purpose if you yourself do not actually have a purpose, like yourself as a parent, right? And how can you have a purpose? You have a purpose, first of all, by obviously by when you manage your emotion and be in the right place, then you can have that clarity to actually identify that, okay, this is my purpose, this is what I really want to do, and this is what I want to become. You can set purpose for yourself, can say, you know what, I'm going to make sure that I regain my happiness. That can be a purpose that you're setting for yourself. It's an objective and a purpose that you're setting for yourself without us talking about the bigger definition of purpose. Purpose can just be something small that you set for yourself at a given time, right? Because until you identify those little things that you need to do for yourself before you can actually have that clarity of mind to be able to identify that bigger purpose, I mean the purpose why you are on earth, because we all have a greater purpose why we are on earth, why we were born. But we cannot actually, even if we identify that purpose, but we are not in the right place mentally, physically, we cannot achieve that purpose, that bigger purpose, because we're not gonna have the what it takes to be able to pursue that purpose. So I always say, rather than looking at somebody who is doing great, is achieving their purpose, is doing whatever thing they've set for themselves and doing great, rather than you don't just start and say, oh no, I just want to jump to be like that person. No, look around you. First of all, do you want do you want to, are you still going through challenges that you need to heal from them first? What about, do you, what if you're going through, say, maybe financial difficulties, start looking at what is it that I can do now that can give me some income, right? If you're struggling maybe with I don't know, with any other thing, maybe around your children, maybe your children are not listening, or you're trying to parent your children, you're finding challenges. First of all, look at how can I bond well with my kids. So those little things that you're going to do those things first, and then when you're grounded with those things and you feel yourself, and like Nelly said earlier before, this is who she is, this is who I can only say, this is who I am. Where I am, I've kind of built myself, I've kind of learned, I've developed, I've changed, I've unlearned my unlimited belief, I've grown. Now I've got some clarity that if I want to pursue my purpose, greater purpose, I can pursue that purpose with some clarity. So yeah, that's just one thing I just wanted to add, as well as, if you don't know your purpose, it'll be difficult for you to raise up children with purpose.
Yeah, yeah, that's really great. Just to add to that is, let's encourage problem solving. And we need to start with ourselves, because
Yeah.
when we develop the ability to problem solve, we will, in a way, teach our children
Mm-hmm.
to learn how to problem solve. Because I hear people say that I pray for whatever not to happen,
Mm.
but rather, I mean, this has taken me a while to really understand it, because you might say, I pray that nothing bad happens to me within the day. That's not a
Mm.
prayer. That's not a prayer, because we know that challenges can come. Rather, for me now, I don't make those kind of prayers. Rather, I pray for the skill to be able to deal with challenges, because you cannot determine a challenge that you will face. Or
Yeah.
if you want to avoid the daily challenges, it means that you will be walking on eggshell, because you'll
Mm-hmm.
be avoiding. And in a way, you are not doing any justice to yourself. So
Yeah.
instead of praying that nothing bad happens, pray that you have the skill to deal with the challenges. Because
Mm-hmm.
you can pray for one challenge doesn't happen, but then another challenge comes. If you've not
Yeah.
developed that skill, how do you deal with it? But then when you pray and work on developing a skill, when something similar comes up, you already know how to deal with it. The skill
Yeah.
might be transferable. You transfer that problem solving skill to solve that problem, and you go your way. And
Yeah.
I see this a lot, because even like you see, some people say they are prayer warriors and they are praying those kind of prayers. Sometimes I just look at them, and I'm like, actually, is that for real? Because I know it is not real, because it's just similar to suppressing negative emotions, but then
Mm-hmm.
expecting the best.
Absolutely.
Suppression, you will keep it and it will eventually burst. It will come
Mm-hmm.
out. And when it comes
Mm-hmm.
out, it will be in the form of aggressive or violent behavior. So instead of suppressing the things that you don't want, is to try to deal with it and look for solutions. So then you will not just be burying it and waiting for the day that it will explode.
Absolutely. And that just comes to that point where we talk about be prepared and accept responsibility. I always say it's like somebody is going to drop you in the middle of nowhere. you know are you going to sit there begging or crying for somebody to come and take you off that place? No, you're going to find your way. Try and find your way, navigate your way wherever you are, to safety. So when we're talking about mental resilience, it's just the fact that it's not that, like you say, it's not that problem is not going to happen. It's going to happen. But when it does happen, how can you deal with it? And when you deal with a challenge one, two, three times, you build that resilience around it, because you know that if that thing happen again, I already know how to deal with it. So it's about, and then when we think that way, we're more courageous, and we go about our duty. And one thing that I always say again is like, we live in a society. I know, sorry, we've gone up like 10 minutes. We live in a society, Nelly, where I think people just love self-blame, and they love pity party. Some people just like people to be sympathizing with them, you know. And I don't know, it's good to share something and people sympathize with you, but regulate it. Regulate it. Don't be, because when, if you're the sort of person that you're attention seeker, you're always wanting people to give you attention. Of course, you're not going to. The only way for you to get that attention is to keep complaining that I'm depressed, I've got anxiety, I've got this, I've got that, I've got that, rather than finding a way. Okay, how can I come out of this? How can I overcome this? So it's very, very important that we build that mental capability to overcome challenges as well. Okay. Nelly, anything on your this thing to what, so we round up? I think
Yeah,
we've,
I
we've
think
really
for me,
come,
the
yeah.
last thing that I want to talk about, or just not that I want to point out here, is gratitude. Regardless
Mm,
of whatever, gratitude is number one. They say gratitude is the universe's language.
yes.
Just be grateful for everything and anything, whether good, bad, ugly. It comes to you, or that experience comes to you for a reason. If it's a
Yeah.
negative experience, be grateful for it. You are not grateful because the bad thing has happened. You are grateful because though the bad thing has happened, but you have been saved. But what can you learn from that negative experience?
Mm,
Because when you keep appreciating, when you are grateful for whatever is happening to you, the universe, our God, will bring more onto you rather than
yes.
being gloomy. Because when you are being gloomy, you just keep blaming. Already that's negativity, and you it reduces your vision. You are just focused only on that problem. But when you are grateful, you appreciate even little things. You see the flowers. Oh, this flower is yellow. This flower
Yeah.
is orange. Some little things that you appreciate. You start seeing and admiring a lot other things that before you didn't even acknowledge that they were there. So gratitude is very, very important. Let's practice from the little things that happen to us, the things that we have been taking for granted. Let's start appreciating and thanking the universe, thanking God, thanking our creator for whatever is happening around us.
Absolutely. That is so true. Gratitude is a big one. It's a big one. So I think we've covered quite a lot. We've covered quite, if start from the
Yeah.
beginning of the video, where we shared a lot about, our own experiences and the challenges of mental health. And first of all, identifying, that you're struggling mentally and what you can do to manage it. We've covered a lot. So I hope that you can pick one or two things from there that is going to help you. And remember that, you know what, you're not going to solve everything in one go. It's a learning process. And so long as you're willing to learn along the way, so long as you're willing to actually learn, then you're good to go. And I always say again is that Be kind on yourself. Just be kind on yourself. At the end of the day, you're just a human being. You know, you're just a human being. Let no one put pressure on you. Let no one. And you're not doing anything to prove a point to anybody. So take it one day at a time, one step at a time, and look after your mental health, because your mental well-being, because it's very, very crucial. Your children are watching you and they're depending on you. If you have a healthy mental health, that is that is going to reflect on them as well. But if you don't and neglect yourself and don't seek the support there, of course, that is going to affect them as well. So I hope that, yeah. Is
Yeah.
there anything Nelly
And
want to add?
yeah, and to encourage us to start talking about mental health, this week is Mental Health Awareness Week. And this month of May is Mental Health Month. So start practicing. It might come very unnatural for you to be talking about mental health because of the stigma and the barriers, but just start talking how you feel, and bit by bit you start feeling that, oh, you can talk about it even louder, and that is how you start talking about mental health. And then those around you, be talking to them about mental health, how you feel. You might not want to use the word mental health, you might say how you feel, the emotions and things like that. And that is how the message will spread, because bit by bit we'll start be confident to talk about mental health. And hey, it will help, because there will be something that you'll be experiencing, but when you talk it out to someone, you realize that, oh, it's gone. You are not feeling it that bad, because it was just
Yeah,
something for you to let out. So let's start
yeah,
talking about mental health.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. It's not a taboo. Absolutely, Nelly. So thank you so much for joining us, and for anybody who is going to be watching after or later, we thank you and we hope that you learned something. And please, if you do have any comment, I think we saw Academy for Grooming Personality. She came on, she said awesome, and then Franca said many of us are battling with this. So yeah, so thank you guys for
Love
tuning in,
you.
and we hope that next time, please, if you want to come and join us backstage, do come and join us backstage. We'll be so delighted. So we will see you again in 2 weeks time for another topic again. And if you have any topic you want us to talk about, please, by so doing, let us know. So thank you. You take care and continue taking care of your mental health and your mental well-being. We love you. Thank you. Bye.
Bye. Bye. Bye. Bye.